finalized.
Let's just begin. So, the theme for the Novice Grand Finals would be Beyonce's Renaissance Track 5. It's energy, guys. So the theme is energy. There will be one context slide for the motion. Context slide is, in March 2023, Indonesia and the United States agreed to develop modular reactor technology. The agreement included a $1 million grant to Perusahaan Listrik Negara, PLN, to carry out feasibility studies on a nuclear reactor. PLN has proposed a 462 megawatt facility in West Kalimantan, which would use technology supplied by the NuScale Power OVS, a public company based in the US NuScale, claimed that its technology is more resilient to earthquake, a significant consideration for civil engineering projects in Indonesia. As of today, Indonesia has 3 nuclear reactors purely for research purposes, with 1 in each Banten, Jawa Barat, and Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta. Are there any questions on the context slide? Please instantly come forward. I'll give you a little bit more time to read. Okay, there's a question.
What does the feasibility studies actually mean?
Okay. Feasibility study means studi kelayakan. It's just a study to show whether the project is feasible, meaning that it is possible to build that technology.
Are there any more questions? No? Going once, going twice. Okay, the motion reads, this House supports the establishment of the West Kalimantan nuclear reactor. Are there any questions on the motion? Going once, going twice. Okay, case building time starts now, 15 minutes. 1:57, debate will start. Good luck, everyone.
Please be seated, just stand by on front, tapi jangan duduk dulu, okay? We're fixing some technical issues. We're still waiting to resolve small technical issues. Very sorry for this inconvenience. Everyone, please just wait and stand by. Thank you. We have Universitas Gunadarma, please come forward. In opening opposition, we have Universitas Riau, please come forward. In closing government, we have IB, IT&B. Give them a round of applause. And in closing opposition, we have Universitas PATTIMURA. We're excited to have all the NOVICE grand finalists here. And now allow me to call all of the adjudicators who will judge this final, starting from I Kadek Dwi Arya. Allow me to read his achievements. He's an Alfred Tuna Snyder Memorial Awardee, first breaking EFL category and EFL semifinalist of Vietnam WDC 2024, an ESL finalist of Monash Pre-WDC 2023, Open Grand Finalist and 7th Best Speaker of NUDC 2023, and Open Champion of Kalimantan Debate Open 2023, AUIV Divisi Bahasa Indonesia 2024. Give a round of applause for Arya. Another judge, Kak Jessica from Universitas Sumatera Utara, whose credentials are Invited Adjudicator of NUDC 2020 to 2022, KDMI 2023, and NSDC 2023, also part of the core adjudication panel of OO Asian 2024, IT Cup Series 1 2034, and IFED 2034. She's also the Open Champion of INT Debate Open 2023, LOVCOM 2023, and EERIE 2023. She's also the second runner-up of AU Open 2024. Give her a huge round of applause. I would also like to call Justin Gabriel Wibisono, the National Best Speaker of NUDC 2022, NUDC 2023, ASAUI 2023, and also NOVET 2023, Open Champion of IFET 2024, Japan Debate Open 23, DIPO Open 23, and also ATMA Open 23. He is also the EFL Grand Finalist of Vietnam's Worlds 2024, ESL semifinalist and top 10 ESL speaker of Krabi Australs 2023. He is also part of the CAP of ALSA-UI 2022 and 2024, AU-IFI 2024, and UPenn FDA 2024. I also would like to call the amazing N1, who will panel this year's Novice Grand Final. Give a huge round of applause of Khairunisa Saramnandani from Universitas Sriwijaya. She's the champion of Sharia Economic Expo Debating Competition 2023, Sociology Fair Andalas Debate Competition 2023, and also the breaking adjudicator of NUDC 2024. Another amazing N1 that will also accompany us in this year's Novice Grand Finals. Give you a huge round of applause for Matthew Kartawinata from Universitas Atmajaya Yogyakarta. Matthew is the grand finalist of Kalimantan Debate Open 2023 and NUDC Region 3 Qualifiers 2023. He is the overall best speaker of Dialectic Sociology Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta 2023, a breaking judge for Diponegoro Open 2023, and also part of the CAP of Charity Debate Competition 23 and Attahirah Championship of English 2023. He has also been invited to Sadewa UGM 2024, AREC UGM 2023, and Startfest Open Veteran Yogyakarta 2023. Another panelist that I also would like to call is Satwika Ananta from Universitas Gadjah Mada, the Open Champion and 8th Best Speaker of NUDC 2023, the first runner-up and 3rd Best Speaker of ALSA-UI 2024, and Open Grand Finalist of UT Mara Pre-WDC 2023. He is also the invited and 10th Best Judge of IFET 2024. I also would like to call Kak Shannon from Universitas Atmajaya Jakarta, who is the Best Judge of NOVET 2023, part of the CAP of KDMI 2023, also an invited educator for NUDC 2018, NUDC 2022, and 2023. She is also the AFL runner-up of Australs 2019 and UADC 2018. I also would like to call Fieri Adidharma from Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, who is the overall Best Speaker of Dipor Seni Universitas Terbuka 2022, the EFL pre-quarter finalist of ABB 2021, 14th Open Best Speaker of NUDC 2022, a Grand Final Judge for NUDC 2021 Novice category, and KDMI 2023. He is also part of the CAP of Kalimantan Open Debate 2022 and 2023, and ERIE 2022-2023. Last but not least, I would like to call the amazing chair of this year's Novice Grand Final, Anisha Alistasia, also my colleagues in this year's CAP. She is the CAP of NUDC 2024, NUDC Region 4 Qualifiers 2023, KDMI Wilayah 4 tahun 2023, invited adjudicator of NSDC 2022 and 2023, IFET 2023 and NOVET 2023. She is the champion of NUDC 2021, the EFL breaking team of ABB 2021, and the Open Best Speaker of INT Debate Open 2023. Icha, the floor is yours. Cik.
Right. Hi everyone, welcome to Novice Grand Finals of NUDC 2024. Big round of applause for all teams for proceeding this far. Before starting, several reminder. First, of course, equity policy. Not only that, because this is live stream, but also to make sure we have safe yet equitable round. We're going to talk about energy and maybe covering community of workers in certain areas. So please follow through the equity guidelines. This is very important. Please also refrain yourself from name dropping. You can always be persuasive without doing so. Second of all, to all observers and a lot of the people who are watching this either live or through the live stream, please refrain yourself from number one, making noises and acts that could distract and or make the debaters feel uncomfortable. If you are watching through the live stream, please also refrain yourself from making comments that could also make debaters or certain community feel uncomfortable, yeah? And lastly, POIs for all teams, please. It's still very important for engagement, especially this is going to be the very important round for you. So make sure that you also at least offer and take one POI. Before we start, any questions or stuff? Are we good? All right, since we're good to go, let's just begin under the motion. This House supports the establishment of the West Kalimantan nuclear reactor. We're inviting Prime Minister to start the debate. Here, here.
Check, okay. Panels, what you need to understand from this motion is actually what the motion is about, who are the vulnerable actors here, and of course we actually need to look at the much long-term impact from what this motion entails. Firstly, before I start, we need to characterize some things. We would support the establishment of nuclear reactor in West Kalimantan. Establishing it means that we are making it there in use for study purposes in areas that are not going to be for civilian use. But first, we need to ask the question, why in Kalimantan? Because the geographic position is beneficial as there are less natural disasters, unlike in the three other places that are currently used for study purposes as well. Next, we have to clarify that nuclear power plants actually have an auto shutdown mechanism, and the nukes have an auto shutdown mechanism, and thus it is actually really safe to use them, because if there's any slight error in deviation, it will actually auto shut down. Secondly, next, I already mentioned that it's going to be that this power plant will be used for study purposes first. Then after that, government can control it, and then government can understand the harms and how to mitigate it, and it can also be used for other purposes. Firstly, our vulnerable actors here, of course, are for Indonesian nuclear research, and the second is, of course, the people of West Kalimantan. Now, we actually need to look at the core problem here, panels. The core problem of this is actually nuclear concerns, and that we can actually bring the three root problems from this. The first is safety. Now, I already mentioned why we chose Kalimantan. Kalimantan is in a good geographic location in Indonesia because it is not in a ring of fire. What do I mean by this? In a not ring of fire, it means that there are less earthquakes, or they are least impactful in terms of earthquakes. Now, this brings to our first mechanism. West Kalimantan, since West Kalimantan is not in a ring of fire, it has less earthquakes, thus making it less prone to natural cause incidents. By natural cause incidents, this is not limited, but including to earthquakes and of course tsunamis. Now, what are the benefits of this? The benefits is that it's in a good geographic location, thus it's much safer, not only to the environment, but also to the people and also to the workers of the power plant itself. What's the flip side of this? What is the opposite case? If it's in another location, it would shut down automatically. It would more shut down automatically because it is not in a because it could be in a ring of fire or in a ley line. Thus, it's actually more prone to natural cause disasters. Why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? First, we actually need to look at a few cases. The few nuclear accidents that we have are devastating enough that we actually need to worry where we put our next power plant. And this is really important because where we put it might determine not only today's generation, but also the next generation. That's why we propose to put it in West Kalimantan. Second root problem is that actually the nuclear concerns concerning about pollution is largely false. Its nuclear power plant essentially is cleaner than coal. The water that is used for cooling, the radiation that is quote unquote pumped out is actually non-existent, and the water cooling I mentioned is so perfectly safe. You can swim on it, you can drink it, you can do whatever you want, and you'll be unharmed from the dangers of radiation that it brings. Which brings to our second mechanism. In truth, coal and coal power plants that Indonesia and the status quo are currently using today, coal power plants that Indonesia are using in the status quo today are so impactful to the environment negatively that we actually need to find out ways how to counter this, how to mitigate this, and that's and if we look at the flip side, if we look at nuclear power plants, nuclear reactors outputs less waste, and if we're talking about the nuclear waste of the plant by the mechanism, it's actually put deep underground, underneath the power plant. Thus, it's actually safe. It's not gonna contaminate the environment. It's not gonna explode because, like I mentioned, modern nuclear power plants actually have an auto shutdown mechanism, and as a result, the nuclear waste can actually be removed. The nuclear waste that is actually put in the basement, essentially, of the nuclear power plant can actually be removed for long-term storage. What is the benefit of this panel? The benefit is, of course, zero pollution to the environment. There is no contamination whatsoever. The only contamination that you're going to see is actually steam that is coming from the chimneys of the nuclear reactors themselves. What you can see from the white smoke, that's essentially just steam. It's just water being boiled. There's no radiation at all. There's no downsides of nuclear catastrophe. It's just steam. Now, is it exclusive? Yes, this is only exclusive to the opening government, because if you look at the flip side, if you look at the coal power plant, if you look at other power plants, they emit some sort of pollution that are really dangerous and really impactful negatively to the environment that are still being used today. That's why, and that's why we propose this. We propose to build this power plant or this reactor in West Kalimantan, because we can actually look at another thing, which is why it's important. Why it's important, because, as I mentioned again, zero suffocation. If we want to look to the long-term impact, there's zero suffocation, because the future generations doesn't have the impact of nuclear catastrophe, nor they have the impact of suffocation due to other contaminants such as CO2. Now, moving on to our third root problem, which is for study purposes. As I mentioned, we're going to establish this power plant, this nuclear reactor, for studying purposes. The likelihood is because we limit the usage of the establishment is only for study purposes. It's because Indonesia are not ready for establishing it for usage purposes. Firstly, it's because of minimal education or minimal awareness towards this nuclear power. Nuclear in Indonesia is still viewed as a taboo thing. If we want to look at an example, in Indonesia, the previous governments did try to propose making a nuclear power plant, but it's denied. And the benefits is that we can more understand what this nuclear can benefit us. That's why we want to build it. And it's effective because in other places, the other three plants, it is still filled with so many people. Thus, if the opposition main concern is the environment or to the people, the second mechanism of my points already explained this. It's important because if we can continue to avoid it, then if we can continue the development of nuclear power, we can actually be not left behind in terms of energy by other countries. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Test. All right, thank you so much, Prime Minister, for that fine opening. Now to move on to the case from OO, inviting Leader of Opposition. Here.
when we have limited resources and we have limited capability, as a country, we must see what should be prioritized on the very first place. So proud to be OO. Several set up from OO for today. First, our stand is simple. We don't support the establishment of the Kalimantan nuclear reactor. Our intention is, first, country can allocate their fund or capital for the most urgent thing, for example, the remote area and a lot of things to do. And B, we want to make sure that all areas in Indonesia have the quality access for maybe, because in this context we talk about electric, But secondly, I think the characterization, it's like from the OG, so we are going to characterize it first. I think first, West Kalimantan, how it looks like. I think there are lots of forests, for example, green forests. They still maintain their originality, for example. Notes that Kalimantan already has a lot of mining, for example, and whatnot. But B, Indonesia, still a developing country, right? We have another issues or lots of issues that should and must we prioritize at the first time. This is important because I think the big burden to prove in side of proposition side is that why this establishment is something that the most urgent that we should do at the very first place. But before jumping to my argument, I would do some first big engagement, because I think their argument is glorifying about Kalimantan is a good geographic, so this is the most safer location for them to build or to establish this project. Several responses. First, yes, exactly, but I don't think I think you lose your reason as to prerequisite why this is going to be a safer for all the ecosystem there and people there, because they are going to be like a big project and you are going to sacrifice a lot of things, for example. But secondly, even if this is good, I don't find like some urgency in your side, because this is going to be like feasibility studies, which is going to be like there's going to be likelihood to be fail, for example. But thirdly, their point about zero pollution, I don't think why the nuclear itself wouldn't use the other materials that's dangerous, because you know how dangerous the materials are, because this has a radiation effect, for example, so this is going to be harmful for you, for example. I think if your intention is the good pollution, this is not exclusive on your side of the house, because good pollution, we can get those things under our side as well by doing less using like another alternatives, for example. My argument would be simple. Why this is going to be good for our capital as a country, and this is going to be for the people and for as general later. This premise is simple. This project costs a lot of money. We have a lot of things to prioritize at the very place, e.g. our economic problems, politics, etc. How it looks like? A, we have limited resources. It looks like we have to manage it wisely in the very first place. Notice that this is modular reactor technology. It's a big project. Notice that, meaning it costs a lot of money and sacrifice a lot of things that I mentioned before. How it's going to work under our side? A, it's going to take government focus, and it's going to take like maybe lots of place or such as land in there. But B, we believe that the West Kalimantan has a broad area, maybe this is going to be like a right place that might government said before. But notice, now we are in our climate crisis, and for example, in order for us to focus on this feasibility studies, we have to prioritize more things, like I said before. A, why is it important? A, Indonesia is developing countries, right? Lots of area that have not been developed, for example, lacking of electricity, such as remote places. I don't have to mention it, but you know that. This meaning that we have to prioritize it at the very first place in order to support this establishment. Why is it likely to be happen on our side? First, limited resources. Imagine those capital that we use to establish the nuclear reactor is a big project, right? Even if US grant you $1 million, I think there's just going to be like another interest in it, meaning that the likelihood for doing like reciprocal actions and what not would likely to be happen, e.g. like debt, or you will use it like as a debt for at the end of the day. Therefore, by not supporting this, we are going to be like supreme the most important things that you should do, should must solved in the very first place, and I think we are going to save the West Kalimantan itself and accessibility for remote area people, for example. Maybe the prop would come with the argument saying that, that we need this kind of establishment to progressive technology. But I think, first, I think there is a likelihood for this project to be failed at the very first place. This is bad because we already sacrificed a lot of things such as money, land, and the prosperity of people out there, for example, because would be more likely to use the society's land, for example. But secondly, but even if the proposition coming with argument saying that this is going to be succeed, notice this is just going to be a certain or particular thing which is in electric and in certain area, West Kalimantan. This is important because even if you are going to be succeed, this is just for the West Kalimantan, right? To develop to another area, we need more capital. This is even further worsen the remote area in our country because basically we cannot do it at the end of the day. For all those reasons, so proud to be OO.
Thank you so much, Leader of Opposition, for the fine speech. To extend the case from OG, inviting DPM. Here.
Check. Okay. We believe that when you wait for a stability in some kind of a country itself, when those country is still developing and you wait for them to actually do some kind of a movement, it's unfair in the end of the day. Do notice opposition side of the house, opening bench, only stated that, okay, right now we would not build this and should not build it. But do notice when we actually don't try to actually move, to actually like try to compete with other countries that already have nuclear reactor, that already have developed or even have so many study case about nuclear reactor, then basically it will be unfair for us to actually becoming a developing country at the end of the day. Okay, let's engage with OO case. OO case is talking about limited resources and limited capabilities. Do notice this is what they characterize about our developing country. Do notice this is what they characterize about our government. But there is so many resources. Exactly. Okay, well, let's talk about the capital stuff. Capital stuff, we believe that when you do big project, investment and stuff, government don't want to lose anything, right? So at the end of the day, when this study is actually like beneficial, when this study actually come into good terms, then basically like the government at the end of the day would receive back the investment that they already gave at the nuclear plants at the end of the day. Now, let's talk about like limited resources in terms of like our richness, our things like coals or even stuff, or even gold and stuff. Do notice exactly where right now those kind of things are limited to power our country, then shouldn't it actually be true, then shouldn't it be justified at all to actually for us to move and to do some kind of a study research in terms of nuclear plants. Nuclear plants itself, talking about pollution again, Okay, pollution can happen, but do notice that when those kind of pollution can be mitigated at the end of the day, doesn't it become far more beneficial than for us rather than your side of the house? Because do notice, under your side of the house, nuclear plants at Banten still exist. when those kind of thing actually like, I don't know, have some kind of a meltdown, for an etc. in worst case scenario, then basically your side of the house don't have any kind of mitigation at the end of the day. Because we want in the West Kalimantan, because at the end of the day, these places, these geographical places actually can be a right place for us to put it. Why so, panels? Why West Kalimantan? Why not other places? When we put it at West Kalimantan, because of how large it is, because of why there is still so many forests and many lands that we could actually use. Rather than your side of the house, rather than opposition side of the house trying to propose like, oh, we are going to be deforesting forests for in terms of like apartments, etc. Isn't it better for us to build an infrastructure in the very first place that could actually help our country? It's not justified at all if your deforestation is basically based on like apartment and stuff. So, but then let's move on to their best case scenario. Okay, say so if like the nuclear plants actually have a meltdown. At the end of the day, this would not like harms any people that live like around it at the end of the day, because do notice nuclear plants wouldn't be like small building of apartment. This will be like a really huge, and there will be some kind of a field for you and will be some kind of a barrier for not all people can even enter those kind of place. Okay, now moving on to my extension, let's talk about the study purposes. The likelihood when this kind of thing can actually be preserved, when this kind of thing can be achieved at the end of the day, because we limit of the usage of this establishment at the end of the day, because we don't want Indonesian government to be willy-nilly and then suddenly just, oh, boom, you nuclear planters, you can use this nuclear planters at the end of the day. We don't want that. That's why when we put it at West Kalimantan, it is for only study reason purposes, etc. Why is it actually beneficial here, panels? We can more understand what this nuclear planters is all about and what is the benefit and what can mitigate in case of any kinds of worst case scenario could happen. Okay, people of West Kalimantan can be like retaliate, etc. because they know, because we understand that we are coming to their places and actually like do something that they don't agree and don't align of those kind of things. Okay, so what do we say about this? We believe that people would retaliate whatever they want, because at the end of the day, when something doesn't align with their view at the end of the day, they wouldn't feel satisfied. They wouldn't feel like, oh, this is a good thing, because we need to understand, we are not only catering an individual interest, we are catering a nation interest. When this country, when Indonesia as a developing country can actually develop into a more developed country in terms of like nuclear plantages and in terms of like studies of nuclear, then isn't it better for Indonesia to do it at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, opposition side of the house need to prove to you on why when we don't continue and when we don't approve the establishment of nuclear plantages, it will actually be more beneficial. Because again, they talk about limited resources, like okay, capitals and stuff, but when those limited resources are not being used enough, when those funds is not being allocated to a better place, to a better study field, to a better research and development for our country, rather than just like, okay, for an example, building an apartment, etc., then it's bad, because at the end of the day, we cater towards people, we cater towards the government interest, we cater towards the country interest, not just an individual interest at the end of the day. So why is it effective here, panels? Because right now, three other plants that exist in Indonesia itself, filled with so many people. Let's take an example of like Banten and stuff. Banten. Do notice that this is really like so crowded people. So when those kind of thing, when those worst case scenario that opposition want to actually mention to you guys, then basically those things could harm those people that live like around it, right? So it's better if we actually put it in West Kalimantan because of how we can like put it in a more secluded place. So if opposition main concern is about the environment, my second mechanism is already like prove to you like this is a pollution free, because of like there is like chemicals that could actually like and the water, etc. Why is it important and why is it only exclusive under our side of the house? Because closing government need to prove to you on why is it actually far more beneficial if we put it in West Kalimantan, and closing opposition and also their DLO need to prove to you on why is it not better if we actually put it in other places and West Kalimantan. So proud to propose this motion.
Thank you, DPM, for the fine speech. To extend the case from OO, inviting dialogue. Here, here.
All right, panels. Even if the motion is clearly only say that this House support the establishment of nuclear reactor in West Kalimantan, but that doesn't mean that the burden of OG is not only to prove why is it possible to build this in West Kalimantan, because at the end of the day, this is a big project that the country will undergo. So it's not only about how to prove why Kalimantan is the best place, but to prove why is in the interest of Indonesia as a whole. And we believe that OG has a burden to prove that why Indonesia is needed to build this such of establishment instead of like doing other infrastructure. For example, like as already stated by the Prime Minister, that in Indonesia, as a developing country, there are still so many places that have not been get the access of like electricity. So I think it's more important for us to do so rather than like doing a big project that has no guarantee. Why is it going to bring like immediate benefit for the society? But before that, several engagement to what OO said. OO has been glorified about how this nuclear is going to be like established in a safety way. Yeah, let's play with the best scenario of them. Yes, safety, but we believe that despite the safety, the nuclear itself is already sensitive in international world, right? Imagine if Indonesia is suddenly like building this nuclear reactor just because the feasibility studies shown that in Indonesia is possible to do so. Indonesia should also consider why is it okay to do it for the country, and how should also consider what is the reaction from other country about establishing this. So I think instead of like promising the safety, also have to consider to answer why is it okay for Indonesia to do so. And the next thing that being the concern of OG, that this is going to be a good for Indonesia that is prone to natural disaster. But I think speaking of natural disaster, like this kind of mechanism is not the only solution, because when you talk about natural disaster, you can also like allocate the society not to live in a vulnerable place, but the government can allocate them in a more safer place, or maybe you can educate the people how to navigate or to do the mitigation when you are undergone the natural disaster. So yeah, it's not really exclusive to say that nuclear reactor could eventually solve this problem. But the next thing, OG believes that this is going to be like, so we noticed there's contradictory between the first speaker and the second speaker. The first speaker promised us that this nuclear power can eventually will lead to zero pollution. But then the second speaker believed that, well, there can be pollution. So there is like contradictory. It means that they are not really sure with their argument about this pollution. So we believe that even if like let's say nuclear don't create a pollution, but however, when you are building a nuclear project, you need like a big amount of land, like I don't know, for example, like few acre of lands that you have to use to build this nuclear, and it doesn't mean that you are not harming the environment, right? You can if you want to use like other more sustainable energy, why don't use the other energy? For example, like Indonesia is abandoned with like Indonesia is archipelagic country, right? Why don't we use like water based energy to, for example, like if you want to make sure that all places can cater with electricity, especially in like West Kalimantan, and they are so yeah. Moving on to our extension. We believe that the establishment of nuclear energy in West Kalimantan will eventually like lead Indonesian citizens to more critical situation, like even in chaos situation. We already know that in Kalimantan we already have like so many problems. For example, like what is happening right now, the establishment of like moving the capital city to the Kalimantan, it already drives like so many problems. Imagine if another project is being built in Kalimantan, and then what could happen from the society, right? We don't want this to happen because we need to kind of balancing the geography in Kalimantan, and this will bring, we believe this will drive like critic or even chaos among society. Why is it likely? First, society needs an immediate facility. Yes, government that believes that we need to provide a long-term benefit, but society don't really care about that. Society needs immediate facility to support their own daily basis activity. When they know that the government is establishing nuclear reactor instead of like provide them electricity, what could happen among society, right? So that is the question that needs to be answered by the government. Yes, OG, PI? OG. I'm sorry, OG.
Do you notice that my speech is actually basically engaging to your first speaker speech, talking about like, okay, there could be pollution. I'm just saying that in the very first place, not about contradictory.
Yeah, I don't know why does it really impactful for my speech, but we believe that your argument about zero pollution is really vague to be brought in this debate. Moving on to our extension, society needs immediate facility, like I said. But second, this will be like a refusal from the locals. Note that nuclear is a big project, requires certain land in Kalimantan, and already used Kalimantan is already used by so many mining industry. Imagine what could happen in Kalimantan when you already use it for mining and then you use it as well for the nuclear reactor. And we need to compare this. We already like being glorified with their best scenario, but we also have to notice the worst scenario that the nuclear reactor would bring. For example, like we can kind of recall the accident that happened in Chernobyl, where nuclear project was done there. However, it undergone a huge accident which eventually shut the whole city down, make the city unlivable, even like a few acre from the point that the accident happened, makes it unlivable. Imagine if it happens in Indonesia, right? When your purpose in the very first place is like to make a sustainable environment, to make to give more benefit, but what happened in your worst case situation? You make the whole city, or even the whole town unlivable because of this accident that also happened back then in Chernobyl. So we believe that, and speaking of nuclear as well, nuclear itself is generally sensitive, even if there's a feasibility studies, like I said in my beginning of my speech, Indonesia needs to consider how this would drive reaction from other countries, and this is the burden that all the government bench have to answer, why this is the urgency of Indonesia. We are so proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Diallo, for the fine speech. Now moving on to the closing half of the debate, inviting member of government. Here.
Hello, am I clear? Okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The nuclear reactor is objectively the most efficient power plant that generates the most energy with the least amount of wastages of pollution if controlled safely and without with proper restriction, like what our opening governments just have explained. And also without consuming too much natural resources. So this is why we want to establish the nuclear reactor in the West Kalimantan. Framing. First, let me clarify this motion. It states the establishment of nuclear reactor in West Kalimantan under the nuclear power DNS from the USA, which is a public company. So the establishment in West Kalimantan means it will have a nuclear reactor that is prepared there. And the fact this is public company means that the PLN can still supervise this DNS company that which all the opening bands didn't bring up on what their involvement is. So the opening so this is why we are exclusive, because the opening doesn't clarify the USA involvement like the motion slide stated. Second, the West Kalimantan is a strategic location with the most natural resources, and precisely in this debate we want to establish a nuclear reactor to save the environment. The opening government only goes to explain how the nuclear reactor is safe or controlled, but not to the extent of how this will benefit the benefit of the establishment itself for West Kalimantan, or discuss what the impact of other alternative. And this is only exclusive or outside. Third, let me redefine the motion. It is about the establishment of nuclear reactor in West Kalimantan and Indonesia. Opening bands only go so far as to explain how it goes for Indonesia as a developing country, or the risk of nuclear reactor. On our side, we will explain the entire process of the agreement in the motion slide, or also assess the burden from the opening government on why this is strategy on West Kalimantan only. First, nuclear reactor. Moving on to my issues. First, nuclear reactor is the most strategic power plant. The opening opposition presents a burden of why should Indonesia be interested in nuclear power plant. First, Indonesia is a developing country, and with this, they have a lot of natural resources, and these natural resources are wasted to produce energy over and over again in Indonesia. And no, energy cannot be generated without the cost of resources. And such, this is one of the reasons why Indonesia should be interested in nuclear power plant. Second, Indonesia, with these resources not being costed or used, can instead allocate it to be used more strategically, such as kelapa sawit to be used more economically or more selling point for Indonesia. Not so. This strategic point is only exclusive on our side. Moving on to my second point, let's play the pollution point champion in this debate. West Kalimantan is a place in Indonesia with the most resources, and this is why from this motion it is especially important for West Kalimantan. Let's characterize the alternative that the opposition will present, will present. A, wind power, and that requires a lot of land, and this is and this requires a lot of deforesting, which while still being less efficient compared to the nuclear power plant. Second, B, dam. Dam also have environmental impacts. Well, they say sure it have no pollution, but the dam heavily destroys the ecosystem of the seas and the and other aquatic other ecosystem that is in the sea or the river. And for example, like the salmon who revolve its entire lifespan around this river, and the dam just blocks it. And this is why Indonesia, as a mainly focus on, as one of these strong economic point is fishing, this is why it will harm Indonesia too. So third, C, the alternative is coal. Well, this is self-explanatory. I don't think I will explain why this is harmful. D, and the last alternative, solar panel, still relatively underdeveloped technologically, and thus have to have the same problem as wind, because they still need a lot of land for this power plant to be placed, and this exclusively for solar panel, it generates the least energy. Comparatively, with nuclear power plant, only takes fewer land masses and create less pollution under correct circumstances, and is the most effective energy method. The opening opposition state how it is expensive and sacrifices other thing. Well, first, the motion clearly state that this agreement will already give $1 million for our research from the USA to the PLN. Second, this is already there is already previous experience or research from the other three reactions, like the motion slide stated. All in all, our side is exclusive, since nuclear power plant is not only could require less cost, less environmental harm, but also the allocations of the resources for other purpose. Second issue, how nuclear power plant should be received. The opening opposition states that's how the nuclear power reactor will be perceived as a harm for the society, or maybe they won't accept it. Well, that is the fault of the community to think that this nuclear reactor is not effective. I think this part is is a representative of the bias on your side as the opposition, because the sole reason why these people still fear nuclear power plant is fear-mongering and biases on how nuclear reactor is supposed to function. They don't see it as the most effective power plant possible, but as something so severe and harmful to the environment, when like the opening government stated that we already have mechanism to provide safety and less risk for this nuclear power plant. So the worst case scenario, maybe it still has some pollution from this nuclear power plant. Well, the technology is already progressing. First, unlike what people think, most of the time, nuclear power plant, it doesn't use the material like the uranium, which is heavily inefficient and creates a lot of pollution. We, the nuclear power plant have used a much more efficient material, and also the one that creates less pollution. And also, we can use preventive method for these pollutions to not be as dangerous as what the opposition try to champion, because we can store this. Let me mechanize this more. We can store this wastages in a case where they will be stored down underground, and these cases provide any sort of leakage of the radioactive material. And with this, I'm proud to present.
Thank you, Member of Government, for that fine speech. Now to open the case from CO, inviting Member of Opposition. Here.
Am I clear enough? Okay. Judges, this is not a debate about whether nuclear reactor is bad or good, just like what opening benches just did. So, I'll provide to you what is missing in this debate. It tells you on info slide that these studies would be like helped by what? By USA. We use the technology by USA. I'll explain to you why this is bad to establish this nuclear reactor by the help of USA. First thing first, I want to make the urgency here. So Indonesia has so many things to prioritize. First, like education, politics, or even inequality or gap in electricity itself, just like what already brought to you. And I'll tell you that establish the nuclear reactor itself, now it's not urgent, and we have no urgency at all to have nuclear. Moving to my contribution first. We use the NuScale by USA, NuScale Power by USA, right? What's the bad things about this? First, dependency. How? Our studies use the technology of USA, so basically it's controlled by USA. It's check and balance did by USA. Its safetiness, we depend of the USA. When the nuclear error you have, like it's error or etc. We need the USA's help because it's their technology. Basically, they are the ones who understand about this technology. Because that we are going to be controlled by USA. How this controlization will happen? They can force our country to do something bad or something that not as interest of our country, because we need them. Basically, we need their technology to maintain this nuclear reactor establishment and its etc. Well, moving to my response to the previous speaker, the CG, they actually talk about the same things as OG already bring. They talk about how this West Kalimantan actually strategies and how it is actually safe to have this nuclear establishment in West Kalimantan. First thing first, we talk about the risk. It still have the risk, and we're not ready for the risk. We're country right now. We're not ready for the risk because and they talk about how West Kalimantan is strategic. Well, it is the reason we should protect the West Kalimantan because it's our strategic it is our, strategic full force and etc. They also talk about the competition. Well, OG talk about the competition. Well, this is good for develop our countries. I don't see how developing, how establishing a nuclear reactor would equal to our country be developing, because yeah, we should compete in economy, in education to make sure that our country developing. And having the nuclear reactor wouldn't make us become a developed country. So what's the urgency of competing in nuclear, because we don't have the urgency of do that. And next, OJ also talk about, better to deforest for infrastructure that would help country, and they check that the infrastructure is nuclear. I don't see how it could help, because it's better to build home for homeless people, for example, to deforest to make school or hospital, because that are infrastructure that help people, because Indonesia need those schools, not nuclear. And, yeah. They talk about use the resources to better intention. I don't see how this nuclear reaction will be seen as a better intention. Well, my next contribution is how this nuclear reaction would create the tension with other countries. Already bring that, but I will explain you what is the impact if we, establish this nuclear reactor. First, we're not established the nuclear reactor to decorate our country, judges. Of course, countries around Indonesia would have known that it's going to be something that threatened them. For example, countries in ASEAN would think that Indonesia probably preparing to war because they are, making this nuclear reaction, and this would make a tension, and this tension would lead to, it affects diplomatic relations. Since we are seen as preparing to war, etc., other country would see us like preparing to war, and it would affect our diplomatic relations with other countries. So we provide to you what we are supporting. We support our country to use these resources as, money to provide education, the study of this nuclear itself, because, for example, like send more students to study nuclear and etc. It's because it's more suits our condition and urgency situation right now. So what we want to achieve, we want these students, these students that have already studied about nuclear in a very advanced way, in a very good quality study, until we could make the technology ourselves, and it's good for the long-term impact, because not just because we fixing our human resources, we have these human resources that understand the technology itself, and we also have the technology ourselves about nuclear, so we are not going to depend on, for example, USA in making our this nuclear. And I tell you that this is going to take a long process, but this is not going to harm us, since this is not our urgency, just like I explained to you. This, provide of nuclear itself is not our urgency, so we have long time to provide these students that would create a technology, a better technology of establishing this nuclear to our country. And my next contribution is how this is if we want to establish it right now, it costs too much, and it's not our priority, because it grants 1 million only for something not priority. It already takes so much cost just only for the study, and it will take more prioritization from government, and it will impact the people of Indonesian, because people would oppose this, of course, because if we establish this, we would definitely take people's money for the study itself. It grants 1 million already, and we establish this, meaning we need more money from what people, for example, higher BBM rate, higher taxes, they are the ones who would get impacted. We already, we already facing the, UKT, etc., which will impact the people furthermore. So the keywords here, I want not dependency and more, education of these people to make own technology. So, proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Member of Opposition, for the fine speech. Now to end the case from CG, inviting GovWeb here.
Check, check. Check, check, check. Judge, after listening to all of the speakers and all the benches, let me conclude to you that actually what OG wants is actually, they say that why they want Kalimantan because, West Kalimantan because it's safer, we agree, but then CG will come to provide you a better analysis, a deeper analysis to why it's actually a good thing in my argument later, in my responses later. And also, I'll talk about like how it's not urgent. CO also comes again to talk about 2 points. Firstly, it's not urgent. Secondly, because USA will exploit Indo, which is actually preempted, and we're going to talk to you one by one. Let's engage to CO first then. So CO actually talk about, so you remember talk about like it's not urgent, which is the same with your OO. So are you saying that actually you need to wait until that actually we don't have anything anymore? Until that point that you can use this nuclear and you want to start to work on this nuclear power? If that's so, then your urgency is just definitely not exclusive, because if that is the point, then Indonesia will always be underdeveloped and we will just be that way because we will never be developed, because we need to prepare for the long-term effect, right? You talk about yourself that you really want to think about the long-term effect. That's why it's more preferable on our side of the house. So later, eventually, it will be urgent because developed countries like USA, other countries, they are using this nuclear reactor already as well. As if we need to be, let's not say that we are more than them. Let's just say that at least we want to be at least the same level as them. As developing country, we want to be at least the same as them. And then we need to learn from them, and we need to do this as well, because if they are doing this, it means it's urgent, and then we need to do this also. So that's why your urgency actually is urgent, and you cannot prove that why it's not urgent at all. Also, a member of opposition also talk about like how Indonesia will be controlled by USA, because the USA will force our country to do something that actually is not in the interest of Indonesia itself, right? We say that how can we say no because our country is not that innocent. This is a great country later. This is a great country. You have made your point. You have your chance. So Indonesia is actually not that innocent, and we have check and balance in our side of the house, right? So Indonesia will not just sign anything because like we are like desperate and we need anything, and then we let them. No, Indonesia is a big country, and then we have great government, we have great leader, therefore we are not that innocent to just let them exploit us. And also we have this, like when we sign this letter of alliance with USA, of course there will be check and balance. Of course, if you want to take something from me, in order to do that, we need to take something for you as well. You want to use our land, we want to have this investment, that we can take your technology because it will be better for our world, right? That's why how you saying we will control by USA is not exclusive at all. Also, you talk about Indonesian students can study by their own, and then later in the future they can like invest to Indonesia. So you're saying that actually Indonesia students should do this by ourselves and not wait USA, right? That's your alternative, right? We say yes, it is possible, but then we say it will take longer than it actually is from right now. So it will take a long process. In our side of the house, yes, we have trial and error because that is actually still a research, but then at least the trial and error is being done by the people who are expert in it themselves. So at least if they have trial and error, they can do something. But if you are investing in the students, yes, investing in students is important, but then we're saying that in current status quo, we also need to invest on the current. So we need these two of them lining going in the same way. So therefore, your students, it will take a longer process, and we feel that this environment thing is actually very urgent. And also, the person that I hope that actually will answer is actually, are you opposing the nuclear or are you opposing the USA? After my point, please. Also, let's engage to the other side of the house. Let's engage to what OG has said. So OG talk about like it's okay to deforest, it's okay to cut trees because it is for the infrastructure of the country, investment of the country rather than apartment. We say yes, is it true? But then we say that apartment is also as important as that. Why? Because in current status quo, Genji, they also want to invest in apartment. So if they're saying that actually this is like better than apartment, we say no, they have the same level. And then so what is more important then? Why is it more important? Because it is more important because because in our side of the house, Kalimantan is a very potential place, right? That's why we have Ika, and it will be like in Kalimantan, and then this nuclear reactor will be on Kalimantan, and it will affect the surroundings. Therefore, it's a very potential, especially to support our Ika and thingy, right? Also, So we say that if opposition say that USL will exploit, and we say it's okay to take the bullet, we need it because eventually we can take the benefit of it, and once we are developed, we can take all of this. We can like buy the share, and then we can take over all of this eventually because that is our goal, right? That is why our identity is actually nuclear reactor is the best option, especially in West Kalimantan, and also Indonesian alliance with US is good. It's very great because US is a strong country, and also PLN is the one who will hold, who will assess, who will propose this project. So PLN is a public company, not private. That's therefore their interest will also for our country, right? And also they will also share this information with the public, with other public company, which eventually eventually Indonesia can take over this project, right? Therefore PLN as a public company is actually a good. That's also there will not be the capitalization. Also, OG talk about like how West Kalimantan need more land to use and whatsoever, right? We have told you actually it's actually beneficial because we have a kind and whatsoever. Also, yes.
I don't think your urgency is important in the debate. If your urgency just like best pollution and like environment, I think you can get this from forest reservation, focus to kereta listrik, for example, or green project, water based on energy. Those things more accessible and already exist, right?
Yeah, but then we say that nuclear is actually more important than that because why? Nuclear energy, this will replace other energy. That's why we will not cut trees anymore because we can use this nuclear reactor energy. We say nuclear is very important because it's an investment for the future. It can replace other energies like what my member have told you about. And also, never really explained about the other alternatives because only CO explained that. You're always saying that our alternative is bad. Then what is your alternative? So what is bad and so what? You can never explain the next one. So also, we say that even if we have trial and error because since talk about trial and error will happen in our side of the house because it's a research. We say it is okay to take the bullets. We say we need this because we do not want it. Because if we do not want to take the risk right now, then in the future the effect is going to be worse than this. Also. You also said that it's gonna be expensive or whatsoever. You need to invest more in like education, education, economy or whatsoever. We say education and economy is as important as this. But then that is why we're not saying that all APBN is going to be inside this. We're saying that we have the fund from the US and also APBN is not 100% will go into this because we have the investment themselves. So we do not understand why you're saying money is like actually the problem over here, and also. This is very important for us. Therefore, CG is more exclusive than other TSL of the houses. With this, CG wins. This is we are part 2 proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, GovWeb, for the fine speech. And now to close the case from CO and to end the entire debate as well, inviting opposition web here.
As to respond to what CG says, that we need to prepare. We need to prepare by establishing the nuclear reactor. So, as my partner said, with this education, we can still prepare. By sending people, we can prepare better when our human resources can learn and study this nuclear power. This can also lead to us becoming more prepared. And the second one is they said that Indonesia is not that innocent, so we wouldn't be dependent on America and USA. Of course, we will, because we are dependent of their technology. This is not like TV. We're not in a hurry to find a solution. We can fix it whenever or wherever, anytime we want. But this is nuclear power. We don't have this kind of we don't have this kind of technology in our country to fix and maintain. Of course, we will have to ask them to help. Now, as OG stated, that this is something that would not create a harm to environment because this is something that wouldn't create a pollution. I'm going to answer this at the same time with my extended contribution. So Kalimantan is one of the provinces that have so many resources, nature, sea, and etc. We want the nature and the people that live there to have every resources that they have. Some locals are living based from that nature. With this nuclear reactor, we don't know what's going to happen or what it contains and how this can affect people. So, answering what OGs said about this would not create harm, or because this would not create harm to the environment, the nature that West Kalimantan have is going to be less because of nuclear reactor establishments. As we know, Kalimantan has one of the largest jungle in Indonesia. Of course, if Kalimantan have so many trees, and that trees in Kalimantan is giving people a better air and also a clear water. This mean that if we establish this kind of reactor, we need to cutting these trees because we need lands, right, to establish this, of course. And this can affect people that living there because of their land is going to be used for the establishment. Therefore, they will be forced to move. It's going to be hard for them, especially when they are locals or locals who use the resources and the land as an income, and simply they will have to find a new place to live, and it is so unfair to them. Now, what about people that live near the reactor? Some people might still live near the reactor, so the establishment can be very dangerous, especially when we don't know what and how it will be used. So yes. This will be studied. The other side might bring, but why is it okay to sacrifice these people's safety? They also have the right to live safely. So, and also, as my partner say, Indonesia doesn't have the urgency with war. So why would Indonesia do anything because Indonesia would do anything to avoid war. So I don't think establishing this is not something that is very important. So also we can look at example of what this nuclear reactor do in Chernobyl. So there's a risk that this nuclear reactor can happen like what happens there. Of course, there's an expert, but there's a likelihood for that to happen because the experts are human that can make mistakes. They are studying, means still working about these benefits, etc. They still do research, meaning that they still needing to find out more about the nuclear reactor. And as my partner said, this can also create a tendency between countries near. As my partner explained, Indonesia doesn't have a tendency toward that side. So Indonesia wouldn't want to risk to even find a problem with neighboring countries. But as we know, Indonesia have a couple problems with neighboring country in regard of border, and some haven't solved until now. So this country can feel threatened because Indonesia established nuclear power reactor, so the diplomacy of the neighboring countries can be affected. Now, as my partner talking about the accessibility, so if this nuclear reactor, because this is something that need lots of money, this can lead to higher taxes, higher BBM rates. If this is for the people of Indonesia prosperity, this is something that expensive and less affordable, since some of Indonesians are blue-collar workers. So we provide another solutions. Like there are other countries that are more advanced in establish this type of thing. If you want them to do studies, it's better for letting the experts to learn in those countries instead of sacrificing what we already have here. That's why it is going to be better in our side of the house, because the other side of the house sacrifice these people, their nature, and something that's not everyone cannot access. Now, talking about dependency for USA, as my partner is saying that there's going to be dependency to USA because of the tendency that because of the technology that we use are originated from the USA. For maintain this, we're going to have to be dependent. So it is better to develop our human resources in countries that already have the resources. And if we already study, maybe we can create the safer. We will create the safer and better technology related to nuclear in our country for the sake of our people. Even though this is going to take a lot of time, the nuclear resources in our country can and will develop at the same time with the human resources, and this is something that comes with certainty. Thank you very much. So proud to oppose.
Thank you so much, Opposition Whip, for the fine speech, and that marks the end of the debate for NOVICE Grand Final. Massive congratulations for all teams for doing great. And yeah, now you can shake hands, and please wait for the announcement later. Yeah. Thank you.